Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, support the show by joining the Nerd On Nation powered by Patreon. Go to nerdon.tv/Patreon and get Nerd On exclusives for as little as $1 a month.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but you deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome. And today we are concluding this campaign, the final chapter, not episode 9, just episode 8 or chapter 8, whatever chapter. Today we're talking about Stranger Things, the series finale. And I know that we haven't done like a proper follow-up, of season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all the way up until this moment. But my fellow co-host today and I felt like it was kind of important to talk about this. There's a lot of buzz and chatter on the internet, and we just wanted to throw in our 2 cents, a penny for our thoughts to you guys. That isn't bridled with toxic entitlement, nor sycophantic, blatant idolship of the show. Talking about what happened, what we liked. But before we get too far into it, my name is Tom, and I am joined by...
This is the Azorian one, Esteves.
And with every episode, we can't do these without our lovely patrons. They keep our lights on, they keep our servers running so that we can get these feeds out to you guys. When anytime any of the gear and all that stuff breaks down, we look into our small little piggy bank, and the support that you guys offer helps us out. If you want to check that out at nerdon.tv/Patreon. But today's episode is dedicated to battery prints. Thank you, Brad. You help us out. You help keep our lights on. You've been doing so for many, many years now, and it's super appreciative. And we know that you have a place to talk about this show in your heart, and that's why we're dedicating this episode to you. Thank you. You get our Nerd On. So with all that being said, Steve, why don't you give us like a 2-minute breakdown for those, this is all spoilers ahead. This is, we'll do a brief breakdown of like what happened in the series finale, and then we're going to talk about what we're seeing online, and then our thoughts about it, and then kind of where we go from here. But Steve, what happened? What happened last episode? A little bit of last season 2.
Turn around. Sorry. So yeah, we got Stranger Things 5. I know we call them seasons because it's technically a series, but they like the title like it's a sequel to a film. Stranger Things 5 kicked off with us leading up to our final showdown against Vecna, the big bad of the Upside Down, or Dimension X, as we come to learn. And we have our characters, things have gotten personal, things have gotten emotional. They're reconnecting. There's this very, this now or nothing, do or die element. And they've devised this plan. And we are aware now that the Upside Down is simply this bridge between our world and Vecna's Mind Flayer world, Dimension X. And so our heroes have devised this plan to get into the Upside Down and then get into Dimension X to finally stop Vecna. And it was 2 hours of what I consider to be just a blockbuster thrill ride. It gave us it was pleasing. It was the final moments we wanted to see of these kids and these characters together. They did great jobs of teasing us into thinking certain characters were going to perish, especially with one Steve Harrington. That moment, because we've all heard on online fan base, if Steve dies, we riot. We do not kill Steve, do not kill Dustin. And they give us these tender moments of Dustin breaking down, not wanting Steve to be dangerous, which was amazing delivery by Gaten. And then their you die, I die, which is a repeat from the third season. And it's just like, why are you doing this? Why are you making them say this again if you're not going to? And then they give us the big tease. Again, spoilers, this close-up on Steve's hand falling off the tower. Dustin with that very emotional, deep in the heart yell of Steve, the only way Dustin can. And then you get the 7-second black screen. It's like, for a second when I saw that, I thought they were going to go to like a Hopper scene. I'm like, how dare you leave us here? But no, we cut back to Steve in midair and a hand holding him, and it's Jonathan. So we get these moments of also where the guys who don't get along or didn't like each other suddenly in this what could be their final moment together. I don't like you, but you're a human. I'm not here to see you die. I'm here to we need you. And so we just get this great buildup of our crew heading into Dimension X, while we have 11 and Hopper and Callie and Murray, the bald eagle, taking care of the tower, the upside down, while they're in Dimension X. And we get more growth with Will and him trying to reach into Vecna. We get Holly, who's going to be this amazing talent when she gets older, that actress, because she did astoundingly in this series. And we just get to this final showdown finally, where we find Vecna, we find him in his hideout, we go to war, and this you see where all the budget went with the CGI. It was into that final battle with the Mind Flayer. And we get superhero Elle being the badass she finally is, doing battle with Vecna, fighting on the outside. Big war. We get the victory. Winona Ryder, of course, being the initial star of this series when it began in the first season, gets her moment with Vecna. We get to have a great look at trauma and seeing trauma being slightly relieved in that amazing moment. And then we still have about 45 minutes of the show left after all that. And it was different to see a big finale, the big final battle, take place in the middle of this episode. And normally I'd be like, what? Why would you? But everything that came after felt right given the series that we're watching. Felt right giving the stories we were being told by these characters. We had to see them where they go from here, where life goes from here after the trauma they've survived. And it, in my opinion, was a beautiful end to the way the way the campaign comes to a close, including those last 5-10 minutes in the basement of the Wheeler house. And what we realized later on is that these actors weren't actually acting in that moment. That was just actually how they were feeling doing the final scene of this series. I know I did some jumping in there, but I wanted to give a breakdown of what that last episode was like and how it felt for me. But it was, I personally enjoyed every second of it. I'm not trying to be too biased because I haven't been this emotionally attached to a series since like 24 in Jack Bauer days. Mm-hmm. So, and this of course is a completely different genre from that. Mm-hmm. This is just from the get-go screamed out to the nostalgia. I'm the old man on this Nerd On brand. I call myself the elder millennial. Being born in 82, I remember the 80s. Mm-hmm. I have memories of the 80s. Born in a mobile home that was made in the 70s, so I kind of had dual eras at once. So this show did hit me with everything it featured, from the friendships of the era, the style. It grabbed me right away. So I'm not gonna try to lie to you and say I'm not slightly biased, because I adored the show from beginning to end. But yeah, I felt it was a good close to the entire show. I mean, perfect? No. I mean, there's always going to be, we can get into that, but there's always elements that could be done. There's always criticism. There's always critique. But I loved the final moments of this series and that finale.
Yeah. Before we get into... No, you're fine. Before we get into all of our thoughts and feelings, I do want to just the episode kind of is spurred on mainly because there is so much discourse online. And it really, there is just I think it's really cool that people have this freedom, access to share how they feel about things that they care about. Fandoms, I mean, this is what the podcast is all about, right? We're talking about things that we like and enjoy. And I guess to do it wantonly is something, I guess, to heed, only because there is just a tricky level of how do I say, it's just people end up just showing how full of shit they are, and it's really bad to say it that way, because it's like, well, everyone has opinion, they should be able to share those things, and that's why fan fiction exists. That's why I do think that the power of the opinion is a lovely thing to have for the individual, but I think when it becomes amplified and becomes kind of abrasive towards the people who spent years of their life making the thing that you're talking about, that's it's just toxic fandoms, right? But this isn't necessarily going so far into that. I mean, there's probably a lot of terrible things that I want to try to avoid talking about, because I don't want to give them that space or light. But it's the fan theories and the theory crafters who are just, they're begging for a 9th episode, they're begging for this or that, or the kind of, I call them the because I think the phrasing is Monday morning quarterback. Right?
Yes.
Those are the people who, the game on Sunday, they should have played it this way, they should play that way.
Should have done this.
It's so easy to critique something with hindsight. It's so easy to be like, this movie is bad because of this. It's when you and as someone who's not a parent at all, you can't it's so easy to judge something when you're not part of it. It's so easy to judge a person when you had no point in place in their development. And a parent could only develop their child looking forward. They can take time in history to be like, oh, well, we tried this before, and maybe we try this now, but it's like who this person ends up becoming, you do your best trying to steer that ship in that way, but you can't just like look back, you're like, oh, well, you should have done this, let's go backwards and do that. It's like, well, the toothpaste is already out. So
exactly.
That all being said, it's just interesting to see a lot of people poke a lot, what happened to this character, what happened to that character, season 3, season 4, and I don't know, like I think there's this large part responsibility from, i.e., all the creators, as well as the network of quote unquote the such a delay in the production of it all. And I'm not saying that they like intentionally delayed it all, but I think once maybe season 3 was greenlit, they probably should have had a roadmap for season 4 and 5. Because what happened is that in this vacuum of time, people just started building up the show that they wanted. They started building up the series like, okay, well, Billy's gone, so this should happen. And then Max should do this, and then blah, blah. Without even like, no one even knew, like audience-wise, no one expected Vecna to be the character that Vecna ended up becoming. And throughout season 5, you get to see how Vecna won. Henry becomes Vecna. Even though in season 4 you get introduced to the character and you're just like, oh, this was a kid that was also in the lab, and now we actually get to see like, oh, who is this person before that, which is interesting because we never get that moment with Jane. We don't get a moment like who she was before the experience happened. She was just almost like a child in the
into
world,
it
into it all. But which I think those yeah.
To tackle on Henry, I did appreciate the approach because they made you think like we were about to go on this redemption arc for him. Like it's that trend of, well, the bad guys aren't always that bad. There's something deep inside that's good about it. And they gave you the head think of, no, I liked what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like,
I say it this way, I'm very tired of redeemable villains. I'm very tired that villains need to be like, oh, they're human and you have to understand it. I was like, and I use this example a lot. One of the greatest fictional villain characters of all fiction is a character named Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, who is like ultra racist. He is like just Hitler in space. The Saiyans have a tail and they can become these great ape like King Kong things. And Frieza calls them monkeys all the fucking time. And he's like, I will not be defeated by some stupid monkey. He's like, all you are is it's like you're like, God damn.
Some villains are just villains.
And I think that's okay. I think, and that's the thing where like we've seen them try, people who would make decisions who create the stuff that we talk about, create characters, and they're like, well, let's make the baddest character and then like do some kind of sentimentality with it. And like there's shows like Demon Slayer where they do an entire arc, like entire series of show where it's all about one villain. This villain will just like do the most ruthless, vile things. The heroes will overcome all the obstacles to kill him, and they'll spend 40 minutes to be like, this is his backstory. You're like, what the fuck? Like, stop. And it's cool because it's like in the end of it all, you're like, this is storytelling. This is like intricate storytelling with non-linear pieces being thrown in, so allowing the audience to derive meaning, because it gives the audience permission to be like, do I want this character to be redeemed? And then to your point, it is, I think, very smart and intelligent that they're like, no, we're not, he doesn't deserve a redemption.
You could validate that he was a fine kid until this bad thing happened to him, but then came that point where, okay, now do you do the right thing? No, he chose to continue to do the thing that was wrong, and that's why I was like, well, so he's still a piece of shit.
Yeah,
sorry. And that, I love the way they turned that.
And I mean, and this is, the funny thing that I'll continue, we'll probably keep saying this throughout the recording of this episode, is I wish people would finally comb anything else in reality as much as they finally comb this show. Because there's a lot to be said with characters or people who, yes, at some point in their life, they were just an innocent child, but when they continue to do shitty things, they don't deserve to be redeemed. Like,
nope, exactly.
I know, like, the break from fiction to reality is like a hard one, but also that's the good point of like good storytelling, is that it allows us to find permission to understand how we interpret our reality. And so like, a lot of people online have complaints about, let's save all these children and then expose them to what's one writer's character, Nancy. Oh no, not Nancy.
Which one?
Joyce from just beheading Vecna. But to me, I'm like, those are the kind of the things that like people are sure, but also I'm like, you're not watching the show, you're not watching it properly, you're kind of just judging the show, because I think in that moment, very cathartically, like every hack that Joyce goes into Vecna's head to like try to decapitate him, we get these flashes of all the people that Vecna has affected, these families that have been not ruined, but been, strained and torn apart and then put back together. And all because of Vecna's very terrible intentions for the world. Through
for her, and Joyce was like, and being heard, she's the mom. She says, our family. They became a family, this whole circle. Whether they're all just friends, they became a family bonded by what started back in the first season, and they became a family. And so she was the mom of this entire group because she was the first one to face this trauma, and everyone else came after that. And so I loved, just with every sound, the close up on each character and reliving what they went through and seeing it cathartic, like you said, with every hack, which one writer said took 2 takes to do.
But again, there's just a lot of things where again, I'm not trying to be like, oh well, this is like us just talking about people on the internet, but for anyone that's listening that might have felt certain things, it's interesting, and I always try to have people remember this, and it's not to say you can't critique it. I have my own critiques for the episode, for specifically the finale, but also how season 5 plays out. But it doesn't ruin or get in the way of me being like, oh, these are the things that did right. These are the things that worked really well. I would have loved a lot of things to happen, but like, there's just a lot of things people are like, where are the Demogorgons? And I'm in my mind, I watched this and I like binged the first volume, then the second volume, like the day before going into the other one. And maybe that's also an issue how these shows go, because they're not weekly things, because you're constantly, if you're binging them 3 episodes at a time, you're kind of like on high alert. And if you're on both sides, sometimes you're on high alert because you're just like watching for every single piece of continuity, and then also sometimes you're just like I have to absorb so much exposition that some things just fall apart that like you just don't care about anymore. Like for instance, for me, I was like, the reason why there was no Demogorgons there was because I thought Will killed them all when he
That's
did his telepathic thing, and I was like, oh. But also, I'm like, was there a massive supply of Demogorgons? I don't know.
We don't know. We never got any background on how many exact Demogorgons there are. All we saw were bats in the 4th season.
Yeah, and
those were all-
I'm pretty sure like the overall idea that they wanted to go off of was that in Dimension X, the Mind Flayer has like devoured so much life from the dimension that that nothing else can sustain it. That's why like you have to kind of break into there, or Vecna's only like a travel back and forth. But that's why they're trying to bring that dimension into our reality so that they can take more life because there's no more life to take. But you know, these could be all band-aids, but in that sense where it's like in my mind, it kind of feels like there is a story being told, and how many Demogorgons are there is not part of that story.
Exactly.
The story is, will Vecna be redeemed? Do they save Henry? Do they just kill him? Do they save the children? Do each character do we lose one of these characters along the way? And I think to your point, it was funny when you said this is like a 2-hour long blockbuster. I wouldn't say 2 hour. I mean, blockbuster.
45 minutes.
I think of bombastic explosions and crazy.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're true. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
in the ending is quite, and it's something that I loved the most. I felt like the ending was my favorite parts of the episode.
epilogue. Yes,
the epilogue, because you find out where these characters go, and some people are like, this, you know, we don't need to see that. We wanted to see like a bigger action scene or set piece with the Mind Flayer. I'm like, I don't know, man. I have, you know, we are not, you know, you're older than me by a little, but like we have seen what it happens when like action sequences do take up 20 minutes, and then people are just like, just get over it, get over with it, unless like you're Mad Max. Those are one of the exceptions.
Yeah, of course.
But like to have again, and this is also a series finale, like a proper series finale, you really like owe it to your audience to show where your characters have gone, where they go, where they are still growing. A show that I look at as the golden standard, and let's see if you can share one with yourself as well, of a show ending very, very properly, was The Good Place. But those shows were like, I think 27-minute episodes, and then the finale was like almost an hour and a half, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't do this. This is improper, right? Like, you can't. But then like you're like, but you have been watching like 7 to 8 seasons of these characters, and you want to know where they go. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to see them like on their last day, but it's like you want to know what happens to them. And then also, I think the proper thing that happens with this finale is that the writers and creators of the show gave the audience a little bit of license to be like, you decide where they go. Like there's a lot of very like very depressed people who are saying like, oh, Harrington and Robin and all of them are never going to meet up again. I'm like, you guys have very bad friends, because I still see my high school friends, and I'm in my 30s now, so like we've kept this friendship for over 15 years. And like I've seen them in weddings, I've seen them with I've seen their newborn kids, and I only see them like twice a year. So like the fact that they're going to try to meet up in a basement once a month in a midway point is like, that's kind of easy for them. I don't know. Yeah. Especially in that era too. Like there's not much pulling away from just taking the car and driving off.
Yeah. And to that point, these are people who have who've done that and has marked out, but also you're not taking into consideration what these characters have gone through. Like, I'm going to say maybe that these Hawkins kids are going to have a stronger bond than our everyday lives that we have with our high school friends. And if Tom is able to meet up with his high school friends twice a year,
and we didn't kill an intergalactic monster.
Exactly. I'm going to say the kids that survived all this shit is going to find a way to meet once a month. Yeah. They found a way to do many other things that they were way too young to do. But no, the epilogue is the most important part. And it's because while this show will sell you on the sci-fi, the fantasy, the Dungeons and Dragons, this show does not work if you don't have the talents that these kids and actors had. there was something about this cast from the very first episode that you're like, these kids are really good. Like, we got one on a writer who we know is good. We see this, some of us have known about David Harbour since he was in Quantum of Solace in the Bond franchise. So it's like, I knew who he was. These were talents. These are people who came to work and showed how good they were, especially when they're only like 11, 12, 13 years old. And so there was instantly a bond there that you knew that they were drawing you in. It was their story, them surviving the sci-fi and the fantasy. And so it mattered to us because we became connected to these characters. Like, I did a Substack. I'm going to plug my Substack. I did a Substack on my feelings of the entire series in the end. And what I pointed out in it was like, my wife and I started watching it. And we're just become parents. Like, Jackson was 2 and Tommy was a couple months
2016.
old. Yes. And so initially we're in because it's like, okay, it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's a love letter to Spielberg, Carpenter, Stephen King, that vibe. But so we already were sold there on nostalgia, being 80s kids, all that. And then as we kept watching, it's like, there's that other element that came in, and it's being new parents. And we were watching these kids, Mike, Dustin, Caleb, not Caleb, Lucas, Max, 11, Will, and we're seeing what could be our kids when they get to that age. And I cared about these kids. Like, I wanted them to be okay. Like, we were watching some of these scenes, these deliveries, and our eyes are watering. I got a frog in my throat, especially between Caleb, who played Lucas, and Sadie, who plays Max. I mean, those two were too good. Like, they were too good. Whether they were making you laugh singing to Dustin at the end of the third season.
Never ending story.
Or when Lucas is holding Max in 4 and the way he's yelling for help. Again, it's the guttural yell. It's not just tears and a scream. He's yelling from the gut about losing her. And it just a knife in your chest. As a single person in their 20s could see that and feel that. But then when you've had these kids, when you had your own kids and see these kids going through this pain, it hit me. That's my emotional investment. And that's why that epilogue is so important, because if you watch Stranger Things and you're a fan, you care about where these characters are going. You want to have some sort of a closure, even if it is a pick your own adventure ending regarding someone's fate. But it's just, we needed that. And these characters stick with us. And that's why that's one of my reasons I love this show so much.
I would say, just piggyback on top of that, it's not, you can call it a criticism, you call it whatever it is. Like, I remember being pretty hyped up for the first season, and I remember I was in a break room and everyone was like, I don't know, the show looks kind of like it's trying too hard. And I was like, nah, I think this is like really going to be cool because it's going to have this nice homage and going to feel this like really creepy thing. Like, we haven't had like a cool creepy thing that's also like accessible to like families and children. But like properly, it looks like it's going to have the right vibe. And then, I loved the first season, and I think after season 2, they really took a turn, and they're like, this is one of the biggest shows we ever have. We can just really grow the show. And like, I use that word because that's kind of like what happens. And I say it in the same light that like Christopher Nolan did with the Batman movies, where Batman Begins and Dark Knight were like, you could see how one small, they're all blockbuster movies, but like a smaller scale story evolved into like this higher scaled like spectacle. And even he says it, by the time you get to The Dark Knight Rises, it's no longer like a crime movie, crime drama. It's a war film. There's a siege being taken place. And so by the time you get to the third season, it becomes more of this, like, not necessarily like there's one sleepy town, creepy creature kind of thing. It's kind of like, well, let's see like the slasher creature feature kind of thing. And it's like a little bit more
Cold War elements.
Yeah, let's do a little bit more of the bombasticness of the 80s instead of like the creepy parts of it. Which, for many people, I can only imagine, again, people who are closer to the age of the 80s, that they would remember it. They can pinpoint those things, and they're like, oh, I do remember. Like, they are really doing this kind of like love letter to it, which I always find, also take it with a grain of salt, because rose tinted glasses are a thing sometimes, because sometimes there aren't great things that happen in those decades. but like
Of course.
showing how like the culture was then and how it affected these characters then, and then what we're seeing at the same time is like a spectacle to behold. But I and then we get to series 5, chapter whatever, 5,
Yeah.
and it's like now, as you said, it's like just now it's just blockbuster. Now it's just big blockbuster.
Stakes are high.
I felt like to me, emotionally, character wise, story wise, 4 would have been the good point to end it all. I thought 3 was actually kind of like the weak season for me.
It would, yeah. If there was a weak one, it would be 3. I mean, again, biased, but yeah, if you had to pick a weak one,
you know, you introduced Max, who's like one of the better characters. You introduced Robin.
Oh, no,
two. You Max.
It was because that's when the Halloween episode there's Ghostbusters and they meet Max, but she got more in season
because we got Billy.
Got Billy, exactly.
But then we
got
get
more Billy,
and then we get Robin in 3.
Yes, we get Robin.
So
yes.
like,
which
there's a lot of great character introductions, and like, you know, I would say, and this is the fun thing where it's like, outside of the original crew, you know, these later on add-on characters are some of the maybe better characters that you latch onto, that like have much more of an active role. They don't feel like, oh well, you know, Henderson and Harrington have to be together, so like their stories. Whereas like how Max interacts with each person's very interesting. How Robin interacts with each person's interesting, not just Robin and Harrington, right? Not just Max and Lucas, right? It's like, oh, Max and 11, like, oh, this is interesting. So like how their individual relationships work.
And it's we talked earlier about the non-redemption arc of Henry because he wanted to be. And those who were upset about that, we have a redemption arc in Steve Harrington.
We already got it.
Yeah, he's a dick for most of that first season till the very end.
He probably has the best character arc of the entire series.
Absolutely.
Because he goes from douchebag to redeemed, like, okay, I'm not a bad guy and I'll do the right thing and I'll come in, to I am the mom of these children.
Single mom. He's a single mom of 6 kids.
Yeah.
He became he got his 6 nuggets.
Yeah.
He got his 6 nuggets there, right there, the whole time.
And then what does he end up doing when those nuggets grow up? He ends up going to find more nuggets.
And that part too. Most people, when they grow up in a small town, they hate it, they despise it, get the fuck out of here. Steve gained hope from these seasons and wants to be a positive figure for future kids in Hawkins, and that's why he stays as a baseball coach and sees Henderson on his breaks when it's time to that part when Henderson goes running out and just hugs Steve. I'm like, oh my god, I'm not crying. And
I also think it's cool just because like the show does a lot of interesting things that like we don't get to see portrayed that often, where there's one thing I was quite surprised, and this isn't supposed to be like a whole season 5 thing, but just a finale thing, but like the like whole Nancy and Jonathan, like their moment of closure is them breaking up.
So good.
And it's like they kind of profess how much they care about each other, but they just can't be with each other. Although I think there's still always going to be something between them. Oh yeah, and it's always something that I really liked that Nancy got. And I think it is a weird thing because I feel like it's weird. It's like, cool, now everyone's kind of in limbo of how they feel about each other, but also like you don't get to see that often in media where characters really, really care about each other. They have an emotional history, a romantic history, but their friendship and loyalty to each other is the predominant power and thread between them all. It's actually how I feel the relationship between Peter Parker and Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, is in the comics, where like they have so much sexual tension. They've definitely, you know, bumped uglies. They're together. They're not together. Mary Jane's in town. Mary Jane's not in town. Felicia Hardy's in town. Felicia Hardy's not in town. But then when like push comes to shove, it's like Peter Parker doesn't know how to deal with the Kingpin. Felicia like gives him like real rough like hits of reality, which these characters later on I think really get, and that's like I think a truly something that's reflective of reality that we don't talk about, because in media it's usually, oh, it doesn't work out, they don't talk to each other anymore, they just cease to exist. Oh, they're together, that means they're all together forever and it's all happily ever, there's no problems at all. But here it's like, oh, this is kind of a sticky relationship, but like they kind of, again, they know they owe it to each other to be like, these are good people and these are the people who would like literally like jump off a tower to save my life. which is really cool. And I think, again, there's a lot of issues I can have with this series finale and the series, but I'm like, a lot of the emotional storytelling, the human stories that are being told about, like, who is Harrington to Nancy? Who is Harrington to Jonathan? Who is Harrington to this person's, like, and to Robin, and like, what does that mean to Will? And you're kind of doing it in such a good fashion. I don't think I would have put certain emotional beats where they landed. Like, I would have put that in episode 3, put that in episode 4. That changes the whole formula. That changes where they come, and that would deprive the people who do fall in love with the show that. And like, that is the kind of healthy amount of, like, I think, critique that people often should have, where they're like, oh, I would have done it this way, versus like, this is bad. This should, they forgot this, and this is stupid. They don't all these characters. Like, what are the good things, and like, what would you have done to talk about that, and then figure out what that means? But yeah,
I had a defense on what was ranked as the lowest rated episode of the series, which is the Will coming out scene. And
that was the lowest rated
because it got bombed. It got review bombed by
that doesn't count then.
I know, but that's how it is on IMDb right now.
That doesn't count then.
But I have like a story. There were the complaint of why are they doing that wokeness, which you've not watched the show since the beginning. It's always been there. There's the others who are saying it's the wrong time to do it. Now, like, I get where you're coming from, the wrong time to do it, because we know Lucas believes this is the day that Vecna's going to attack. But we just also in the story, Will just put 2 and 2 together. He knows Vecna uses your secrets and your weaknesses against you and your insecurities. Not everyone in that group knows absolutely the truth about Will. Some do. Not everyone does. He knows if he keeps this secret, it's going to be used to hurt his friends, to hurt his family, to hurt him. And so while it's not the opportune
but also
time,
it's just the fear of the unknown, not knowing how they're going to take it, and then letting that ramble in your brain.
And he knows, he knows it's not the opportune time, but he's figured it out. And he knows that if he doesn't do it now, it's going to cause pain for everyone. So he's like, we got to do that. I got to do this now. I got to. And he lets it out. That's why I defend that scene. I'm like, yeah, not everything happens the way you're scheduling out. Life does not happen in a perfect schedule every day, but there's moments where you got to break that schedule and do the thing that's important, no matter what time, what day, whatever it is. And that's what Will did. And that's why I defend that scene wholeheartedly for those who don't like the placement of the moment. Those who don't like who think it's Will can just fuck themselves. They haven't watched this show since the beginning, since it's been an element of Will since day 1 of this series.
I will play devil's advocate, because I was someone that was just like, but why now? Right. And I was someone who was just like, I don't like, it just feels weird. Like, because this is what Steve is talking about. This moment is practically the final moment of the penultimate episode before we get to the series finale. And I felt very much like it's such a weird, to me, it was such a weird, like, human moment in a very plot heavy scene, or a plot heavy area of the show,
which I get.
But and it was funny because I talked to my roommate who is gay, and I think I have to give the license and understanding that, like, there are some things that, as a straight cishet male, I will never understand those things because I've not lived that experience. But like, to try even to like put myself in the shoes of someone who's like, especially in the time, right, in the 80s, where like being out is just like, it's just not a thing, right? And I felt like, I think part of my initial trepidation against where that scene landed is because when we had Robin come out to Steve, I felt like that was such like this intimate, quiet moment where this felt this kind of very big and loud one. But also, this coincides with like a critique that I didn't like that happened in season 2 and season 3, that they do, hey, let's split the party, and then by the end of the last episode, they all come back together and they fight. And I'm like, if you can't make it interesting when they're all together, then like, why even have an ensemble? Like, it's always been a gripe for me. But like, again, it's one of those things where like, I can have my own personal feelings about it, but like, it shouldn't cloud the way that I'm like, okay, what are they trying to say? What are they trying to do? And I think to the merit of the scene, this is the last moment that they're all going to get a moment of peace and quiet, like quote unquote peace and quiet. a moment of solace, a moment of closure, a moment of catharsis together as a family, and they could all like literally get to see each other eye to eye in the broad daylight of the world they know. And when you think about that, right, just like really sit with that moment, of like instead of like, of course it can't be like a dinner or like a Last Supper feel, but it's like, hey, there is this kid that when this all started, and in a way, like I feel like there is this level of rebirth, the level of acknowledgement of when you are able to, say who you are and come out and be accepted. And like I think also just for anyone who feels a similar way that they can't come out and tell their friends or loved ones how, how they truly feel about themselves in the world and how they are in the world, and want to be accepted and loved for that. This moment's gonna hit. This moment's gonna hit hard for them, and I wouldn't take that away, right? Like,
To,
you know,
to your credit, you're saying the whole solace before the final showdown. It reminded me of not the content, but the moment. Saving Private Ryan.
Mhm.
Before the big final battle, what are they all doing? They're sitting together, they're joking around. Ryan's talking to Miller about him and his brothers growing up. Miller, Tom Hanks' character, talking back. It's this moment of bonding or acceptance with each other before you're about to face a bunch of Nazis coming and take out probably half of you. And that's actually funny because I don't know if they meant to do that, but it'd be the second time Saving Private Ryan's been in a series, because back to the very first season, at the end, the Duffers had said their inspiration for that final battle with Elle and the Demogorgon and the kids was Saving Private Ryan, with Tom Hanks shooting his gun at the tank and nothing's happening until the jet gets him. And Elle was the jet because the slingshot wasn't working. So I don't know if they meant to, but that's what I thought of also with Will's scene in that moment, was this moment of solace, like you said, before the big showdown.
And then also just I will say one critique, and this is like not a story thing, it's more of a directing and blocking thing. It's actually the shot that you, I think, posted of all them hugging. I felt that. I feel bad because I don't like to single anyone out, but like I felt like Millie Bobby Brown was just kind of directed to kind of like hover hand a little.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, get in there. Like, and to me, in my mind, I was like, this couldn't be like
I gotta go back and see if that was like a still shot or in the series, because I can't remember now if that angle that I use.
Oh no, it was in there.
It is. Okay.
I remember very intimately watching that
Yeah.
scene and being like, oh, this is a big moment. Like, and I remember she just comes in at the very end because she's on the outside of the rim. And she just like kind of like slowly puts her hands up, and it's kind of like she kind of just like lays it there. And I was like,
yeah, you're right.
You gotta put it in
Get
there.
in there.
And I think that's to me. I never like to blame an actor. I always feel like people should be watching out for actors and being like, hey, that doesn't make you look good. Like, let's do it again. Like, I know it's hard, but also everything here is shot in a studio. Like, they're all shooting this on like with lights. They control this shit. They have the same, follow focus as you could have redone the shot. That's one thing. Cause to me, like, I think that is such a tender moment. And I really would have wanted to feel over the top of like, I'm holding on for dear life to the people I love. And this one kind of just felt like a little like, oh man, they like my favorite coffee's out of order today. Oh, like it just felt a little like, no, like especially that one. I was like, oh, come on,
get in there. No, I get you. I get you.
That was one big thing. I was like, come on, man. I want to make sure we talk on all the things that we want to touch on. So without any more, random audience or people on the internet stuff, Steve, what are some things that you want to bring up and talk about before we move on?
I'm trying to rifle through my head now.
Want me to go?
You go. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
One critique. It's not a critique. It's something I would have wanted. I would have wanted something more exchanged between 11 and 1, Vecna and Jane at the very end when she comes in and like she's pissed, right? Because she has to jump, so she flies up then Callie has passed. And I'm like, to me, I don't know, like it's as cheesy as it is, there's probably better writers for it to do it for sure, but like he says like, "You've come to die." Like it's the same thing as like Batman Dark Knight. Like you kind of like, "No, I've come to save my city. I've come to kill
Stop you.
Yeah. So it's like I would have wanted something like that, where it would have been like,
Yeah, I get you.
like when they're like forced battling, he would have been like, he.
I mean, she's full superhero mode at this time, so yeah, it would make sense.
But like I would have wanted her to be like, "Hey, you're," he's like, it's like I could feel your doubt. I could feel, it's like you can't rely on these friends. They mean nothing. And like you could have been like me, all blah blah. And she's says something again. It just have the
that could have been right before he goes to shoot his arm at her, and it's Will who's that's perfect timing because he could say that, go to get her, and it stops, and we realize it's Will. That's when
because Will has a good moment. He says like, "We're not afraid of you," which is like very Freddy Cougar-y, but but like I feel like,
Vecna was Freddy. Vecna was Freddy.
But like I just would have wanted Eleven to have something to say because her sister just died, and like she has all this weight of what she's doing, but she knows what she has to do. And even in Twilight, like there was that scene with one of the guys who's like messing with what's his stupid face, Robert Pattinson's character, Edward. Not Robert Pattinson's fine. Edward's terrible. But it's like we're stronger than you. He's like, but I'm strong enough to kill you. Where it's like that's cool. Where it's just like, yes, Vecna is this overall evil, powerful thing. It's like, but I am enough, and it's like that's cool, right? It's like just have that moment because like it just felt like they just went into it and started fighting, and then all of a sudden like things are happening, and then he died. I'm like, oh, they should have said something. Should have said something.
I get you.
I would have wanted that. I mean, my favorite scene in the entire show, series finale is between Hopper and Mike. After the graduation, and Hopper is just confiding and sharing the process of grief and blame and denial and blaming himself because Hopper knows exactly what it's like to lose someone and twice more now. But Hopper on the other side of it, who has lived a life of grief and bitterness, is trying to save Mike. Who in
we
the
forget
end,
too that Hopper's a Vietnam vet too, so he's got that shit dealing with as well on top of all
yeah, which I guess I forgot he was a Vietnam vet because in my mind I was like, he's just some sheriff, and also he's like, I'm a vet, and then I was like, and then he's just taking out all these special forces. I'm like, what just because you're a vet doesn't mean you're like fucking commando, man. Like I was like, whatever. But like again, you're just watching a show, you're like, I get it. Like he's secret agent, man. He got
those 80s elements you're talking about, those 80s movie
exactly
elements.
He's stick around. So it's totally fine with me.
No, that scene,
that was great. And then I mean that scene culminates with to your point, the last scene of the I'm a believer and I choose to be a believer. You could look at all like Mike and Will, their books are lined up so their eyes are not lined up so it's 11, and she's still with them in spirit, baba doobada, but also maybe she's at the city with the three waterfalls. And in my mind, I think she is. I think this show has done a perfect job of being like, cool, that's the end of the series, but in 10 years and all of a sudden like my Will is happily in love and has a family or whatever the hell, and all of a sudden here's something driving in the radio, and then all of a sudden like Mike's like, why didn't Elle reach out to me? And there's the whole thing of like, why did Elle reach out to Will but not to Mike? And then the whole group, because this fucking it's chapter 2, like it's Dexter season 10, like you could totally do that. And to me, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. Like I think it's cool. Like I don't need it, but I don't either, but I set it up properly to do that.
You could. I love that the ending is left, like we said earlier, to your interpretation, to the way your campaign is this just them believing it and going along with it and never seeing her again? Is it true? Is she really someone? I love that it leaves it that way, because it's up to you how you want the end to be. What we do know is that these characters are moving on and getting their closure and going from there. I also love the moment of Mike on the stairs looking back at his sister and delightful Derek and the new crew there, and him looking, and he's saying goodbye to his childhood. It's moving on to his sister and her friends. and it's very bittersweet. And just walk up and
Well,
the door closes.
There's a cool mashup that I saw, which was like every time uh who's Karen, the mom, would call for Mike when they're playing, and he just screams. He's like, "What, mom?" And now finally, like, they're in this emotional state. So when she's like checking on them, he doesn't scream back as if she just interrupted the session. Because he almost lost her, and I think that's such a cool thing. And like, it's hard. I think this season was hard for me to watch because I think I felt what people felt, that like Mike kind of got relegated to the back, even though he was kind of like the front man for season 1 and 2. But like, I think he kind of got Trinity affected. Like, he became the romantic interest, and it's like, you're unfortunately not as interesting as 11. But like, in that sense, Finn Wolfhard like absolutely kind of like wasn't a greedy actor and let the scenes play out and serve the sequences where they were. Like, I liked the goodbye between him and 11. I thought that was, to me, I needed that. I was just like, when it all started going down, and I was like, oh, this is gonna happen, isn't it? And then like they say the goodbye, I was like, this is good. Like, I really liked how it played out. In my mind, like, I wasn't like fiending for like blood, but I was kind of like, I do want to feel a sense of sacrifice somewhere here and there. And it kind of feels like in D&D, people will get this too. Sometimes there are just scripted action sequences, and it feels like kind of unearned. And in video games, you like, is this just a scripted thing that like I was gonna win or lose no matter what? Where here it's like, oh, there is something that you can lose, and it does cost you something. And I do like that, you know, it could be Dark Knight Rises, whatever it is, it has that same vibe of it, but it's like, oh yeah, like there is a finality that is left with these characters as well as ourselves in the end. And like, it's cool they did the time skip of 18 months later, because it's like, yeah, things have changed. But I another critique, if I can bring up one, is I do feel like Linda Hamilton kind of got to do nothing.
Yeah, I think she was there just to be there.
I felt bad because I was like, what I would have wanted. So right before, was it Sorcerer, when Will like shows his powers, Hamilton and Vecna get to like face to face, and what I really would have wanted was kind of like Edward Norton Hulk and Tim Roth from The Incredible Hulk, where like maybe like everyone's shooting at Vecna, bullets doesn't do anything, he's just like killing these people, doesn't matter, but she's got like the sound gun that like actually hurts him, and she actually shoots him, and he actually starts getting hurt, and then she runs out of bullets, and he comes up, and then she's like, I don't know who the hell you are, but I'm gonna find out everything about you. And then he's like, then do it from like, you know, your grave, and like you blast her, and she like flies back, and then like she the entire time she's like in a cast or whatever. And it's like, but it's like she's still alive, and it's like, she's so badass and so evil, but it's like this would have been cool. But again, that might have taken away from the brutality of him killing all the soldiers, and then Will being the only one to save everyone. Because then, I guess if she was alive, then like she would see like, oh, Will's a good guy, and we need to boob, you know. So to me, I would have wanted that. I think that could have been cool, but like, I don't know, a lot of people are like, why don't she just leave? It's like, well, there's nothing to do anymore. The entire upside down dimension collapsed upon itself. 11 is gone. So like,
and that was part of mine, where people are like, well, they just let them get away with it, and the rest of them, like, you have no proof to show why you're there. You're kind of an illegal military operation. You just had this town locked down, and you have no reason for it. So why are you gonna? I would see Hopper and Murray being like, what are you gonna arrest us for? What's here? What we do? And there's no proof of anything they did. So it's like they kind of had to let
and also it's 18 months later. I could imagine within the first 6 months they were trying to be like, we will find out everything, and then for months on end they're like, there's nothing. And I don't think we need to see that. We need to see that they've occupied the town for 6 more months, interrogating the shit out of these guys. They're just like, let's just get through it, because like nothing was going to happen. She's going to shoot all them all right then and there.
But you got no evidence to provide. You're going to go tuck your tail and leave and let this town go from there. That's how I saw it.
But you can't. There's a part come back in the next season.
What I was hoping eventually, because I always referred to Nancy as like the Sarah Connor Ripley hybrid. I just wanted to see the one-handed shotgun cop from Terminator 2.
I think that would have been too much. I think that would have been like too calling attention to it.
It would have.
Well, I would have taken that more than like when they first arrived to Dimension X, because I was like, when did she become the fucking commando girl? Like I was like, what happened? Like, I liked how she had all the guns. She's like, you only get this one. I'm like, okay, that's cool. She's like the gun girl.
It all
now.
started, because she took Hopper's shotgun in the first season, and it slowly began to progress. She has a handgun in her purse. And it was all when something about 4, when Vecna got in her brain and she saw the future. That's when she became like, nope, not on my watch. And now I think about it,
she had the Terminator 2.
yes. And I think about it, she did have her badass Sarah Connor moment. It wasn't a one-handed shotgun pump, but it was at the finale of Stranger Things 4.
That's what I'm saying. I think season 4 should have been the end.
She had that badass shotgun. With Kate Bush intertwined with the score music. That's her Sarah Connor moment.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I feel like to me again, if I can be as toxic as ever, like I'd probably would have tried to have found a way to end the series by season 4, but also season 5 just sounds right, because Breaking Bad ended at season 5, so it's
yeah.
And I get it, and this is the same kind of like caliber in terms of like cultural phenomenon.
And if we think about it, if we compare it to like the big blockbusters or the MCU and all that, 4 kind of had the Infinity War ending, and 5 gave us Endgame. And
No, it didn't. 3 had the Infinity War ending. Hopper died.
Well, but Vecna also survives, and we get everything destroying the town is all in the earthquake, and Eddie dies, and we have the town all broken in half.
To me, that was just like, I don't know what to expect. And so opening the season up with like whole occupation, like, this is crazy, but
yeah.
But all right. Last final thing from you, Esteves, before we move on to our final piece of the show.
I mean, Stranger Things, again, as I said, is a personal favorite. It's been my favorite for quite a while. I do highly recommend you introduce it to friends, to family. If you're a parent like me, it will be something you can bond with your kids if you kind of grew up in part of this era or were a fan of the era. My wife and myself, when my youngest turns 10 in April, we will be introducing him to this series because he's excited about it. He keeps seeing it everywhere. He wants to know why we love it so much. So we'll be reliving the lives of the kids of Hawkins come this April. So I thoroughly enjoyed the finale. I am a lover of the series, and I strongly recommend.
I would say it's quite an interesting show to watch academically. I think shows like this, and also like, this is a weird one, I always bring it up, Vampire Diaries is weird, because again, Vampire Diaries, for those who don't know, they did 8 seasons. On the 6th season, the lead actress, Nina Dobrev, pieced out. She was the main character and she pieced out. So how do you do 2 more seasons without her? I think that if you want to get into like writing shows and making shows, watch how that show just develops plot, drama, and then like, how do we finish the show with no main character? And this show, you should watch it just to see like how I don't really enjoy it, and I get it. There's a part of me that enjoys it because it's like good candy, but like the nostalgia is such a strong form of storytelling, and probably it did very well in the pitching room when they pitched it after the time when they got the pitch proper, and they're like, the adults have this kind of story, the kids are playing Goonies, the teenagers playing Carpenter. So watch it for that, and then see how the show again evolves and grows and becomes something completely different than the first season. The first season has such a different tone, but also that just shows like what happens to these young creators of the show as they evolve too, and what happens to them. I think it's just interesting to watch it in that vacuum with that lens. I have so many different takeaways and critiques of the seasons, of the episodes, of what I think should have been done, but also the series finale is one of the better ones out of a lot of the series I have watched, and stuff that we've covered on the show. We've covered Game of Thrones, and it's not like, it again kind of ends the way it ends, and it makes sense for where it ends, but also like it does feel rushed. Where here it's like I think we are ready to see this end, and even though it's gonna hurt, it hurts good. And yeah, no, again, I can have a lot of critiques for it, but I found that the emotional storytelling and the endings that they were going with, like, all worked for me.
Yep.
I'd recommend it to anyone who just is interested in, like, just very, and as well, it's Netflix's biggest show, and it was one of their first original shows. So
Yep.
like, there's a little bit of a history lesson there too, of like, this is kind of what helped Netflix become the big name it is today.
Exactly.
Cool. With that, if there's anything that we missed, let us know. Continue the conversation in our Discord, through our comments, on our Patreon, whatever. We love to talk about this kind of stuff, and keep the conversation going. But we have one last segment, which is one cool thing that ideally has nothing to do with the episode, but Esteves doesn't know how the hell to do that ever.
I'm all about breaking rules.
You know, that's sometimes you don't get invited back when you do.
I know. It's the WWE attitude era in me. I apologize. But I had a
That's doing
nice
so well under the current administration.
the attitude era.
Yeah, they broke the rules of just like, oh, being a cool show.
Yeah. I got a great Christmas gift. I got many great Christmas gifts, and one of those that stood out to me as being the struggling writer that I am, my wife got me Stranger Things season 3, the complete series screenplay.
That is not what I
All
thought
the script-
you had.
Oh, sorry. It is all the scripts for all the episodes
That's
of Stranger
cool.
Things 3, because 1 and 2 are on back order. That's
Oh,
how popular
wow.
they were, I guess. Yeah. So I got 3. I've looked through the beginning parts, which, by the way, the scene when Dustin and Steve are reunited at Scoops Ahoy, it does say they do some sort of handshake, but not what they do. So everything you saw there was
Oh.
Steve and Gaten coming up with their own little thing there. So yeah, it is every episode, every script of Stranger Things season 3, which 1 through 4 are available. Again, like I said, 1 and 2 are on back order. Go for a little swim. So that's 3. I'll be looking for 1 and 2, and then eventually 4. But yes, that I am someone who's enjoyed collecting screenplays lately. Like at the moment, I got Oppenheimer, Pulp Fiction, and Get Out in book form at the moment.
More like slop fiction. I don't know.
Anyway,
I like to shit talk on movies, but I'm like, I have no follow up. I don't know what to say.
So yeah, that's my one cool thing. My Stranger Things season 3 of the complete scripts.
My cool thing. The fact that you brought up like a physical thing, I was like, maybe I bring up a physical thing because I don't know about other people in the US at the time of this
Mhm.
recording. A movie that has upset many people, called Marty Supreme is out, but at certain AMC theaters you can get a coin and there's a little gumball machine and you can get a ping pong ball from the movie, which I'm like, that's pretty cool. I love that AMC does that stuff. Like during Smashing Machine, they had the little punching machine, and I'm like,
Nice.
guys, we're doing the cool thing. We're making theaters fun and have interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess my actual one interesting thing, I recently got invited to a screening for a film called Out of the Nest. It's an animated film. It's funny because it's an animated film and it's technically an indie film. And you don't think indie films in animation go, because typically you think studios are behind like animation. And they're typically backed up by some kind of publisher like Disney, Pixar, Illumination, what have you, DreamWorks, whatever. But Out of the Nest is actually this interesting movie. I got invited because the publicist of the movie is someone I met recently at a TV Academy event, Will, and they invited me to this screening. It was really interesting. I found it very. I'll give you the plot. It's about a goat in this animal world, anthropomorphic animals, in feudal times of like anywhere Asia, very China inspired, and slightly Japanese inspired. It's pretty much the Agrabah of Asia, of Eastern Asia, Western Asia, Eastern Asia. Anyways,
One of those.
But and this goat is a barber. He cuts the hair, and he has to then he's like kind of selfish and ambitious, but then he is given 7 baby chick eggs, and then he has to like raise those kids. And then they end up also saving the kingdom from a dark wizard. And it's like very interesting, and like how like it's like Kung Fu Panda-y as well as like Zootopia-y, with a little bit of Sing.
Okay.
So it's got a very interesting vibe. But again, I think the big thing that was crazy to me was like it's an indie film that like the creator or beginner of the movie was an intern at Pixar, a Thai guy, and he went back to Thailand and he created his own company, and it became a cross production between China and Thailand. And then
Nice.
it has like 3 directors on the movie, and some of the and the composer is Italian, and one of the directors is Hispanic, and so I was just like, there's just like a lot of this multicultural thing. Out of the Nest, animated film, very
Nest.
interesting. Again, it's an indie film, so I think people should check it out because it's like you watch it and you're like, maybe not all the story pieces feel like as polished as it can be or whatever, but you're like, animation wise, like, wow, this is not a Pixar, this is not a DreamWorks, it's not. It's like, but this is like you wouldn't notice. You feel like maybe this isn't like Incredibles, but this is like Good Dinosaur, or this is like, you know, like Monsters Inc., Monsters University level. You're like, oh shit, this is interesting. Anyways, I thought it was really interesting for me. But yes, that's it. Everyone, that is the end of our podcast, our Nerd on the podcast. Was it campaign? Yeah. I'm a believer, and I don't need to see it. Like you don't need to show everything.
Nope.
That's just for me. I can believe by myself. Thank you everyone for listening, checking us out. Again, if you are brand new to the show, welcome. Check out all of our other episodes on our website. Comment and subscribe and all the good things. That really helps us out. And tell us what you thought about the finale. Tell us if you also have a Hellfire Club shirt, or if you are one of the people that bought the season 1 or 2 books of the complete scripts.
Why it's on back order?
Yeah, the listener here might be the reason why. But yes, most of all, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around to this point. You really help us continue doing this, and we love doing it. But other than that, Esteves, anything I missed?
Hellfire lives.
Hellfire lives. For Eddie. Everyone stay hydrated. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. You all know the drill. As always, nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.